So, guys, I want to talk about AEW, and pardon me that some of the neighbors are having like a cookout outside, so they're a little loud. But I'm not happy with the Ricochet Will Osprey match. I believe it's happening way too soon, and I believe the best time to do that is Wrestle Dream, because honestly, this is kind of one of the big issues with AEW is that they have way too many special shows. And when you do special shows, you have to make sure that you hit it all out of the ballpark. You have Grand Slam, you have the anniversary show, you have Title Tuesday, you have Wrestle Dream, you have Battle of the Belts. And I think that for next year with AEW, they really, really have to cut down on special shows. And I understand why they do that. They do that because they've been getting low ratings, and they're also in the mix of the TV deal. So they want to say, okay, if we can boost the rating, if we can kind of do something that makes people excited, why not really? And then the other part of it is that also too, WWE does this all the time. Why do you think they say something like, okay, well, it's the 25-year SmackDown, it's Randy Orton's anniversary, it's somebody's birthday, it's this and that, really, because every time you do something like that, it gives people a reason to watch. It's marketability. You turn nothing into something, you advertise, something insignificant, you make it significant. But the problem is that sometimes when you have shows like AEW, they make it pay-per-view or like a quasi pay-per-view quality. And that can be a bad thing, because the problem is that when you do that, what ends up happening is that when you have a show like Wrestle Dream, you don't have the big money matches. And it kind of goes down to what Stevie Richards says, that Wrestle Dream and every show should have its own identity. And unfortunately, the identity of Wrestle Dream is that it's supposed to be kind of like a mix of Forbidden Door and Full Gear, really. That you have mostly AEW matches and some Japanese wrestlers versus AEW wrestlers. But what I would say is that, money talks, really. So I really would say if they want a pay-per-view and they want something that people would be interested in buying, Ricochet versus Will Osprey should be that thing. So, why blow that on a free Dynamite show outside of the purpose of that you're trying to pop a rating and everything like that, really? And I also think that that's just like a lack of self-control. And I also think that it's also a lack of trusting people, but it's also really a lack of utilizing shows like Rampage or Grand Slam or Collision to build matches to the other shows that you have in the anniversary show. Like, I think during Collision, or what you do is that you have Grand Slam, you have the matches, and if there's something that, like, you do Kyle Fletcher versus Will Osprey, Kyle Fletcher and Will Osprey versus the Young Bucks. If you do something like you have Will Osprey and Kyle Fletcher win the titles, you can do something like have the Outrunners challenge them during Collision, say, let's have a match of the anniversary show, because AEW has always been about opportunities. And then you say something like, okay, they'll do that. And then the Outrunners get close, and you say something like, okay, well, on Title Tuesday, we want a rematch. And the Outrunners get close, and then the Outrunners get beaten down by the Young Bucks. And they said, like, okay, then at Wrestle Dream, you're going to have a tables, ladders, and chairs match between the Outrunners, Osprey and Kyle Fletcher, and the Young Bucks. And you do something where the Outrunners actually win the titles there, so because you don't want Osprey being a double champion. That would be good storytelling. You have something like Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin. You have Pac interfere in that match. And then what you do is that on Title Tuesday, you could have that as, maybe Pac versus Mark Briscoe. And you have Darby Allin interfere, like maybe spray paint or whatever in Pac's face. And then you say, like, okay, it's going to be Pac and you're going to have Pac and Darby Allin in a Seattle street fight. And the winner of that match faces Jon Moxley at Full Gear for the AEW Championship or Bryan Danielson. Like, you do something like that. You have Wheeler Yuta have a match at Grand Slam. And then maybe what you do is you have them defend the titles, and they're good. You have like a rematch at Title Tuesday or the anniversary show. They face another team, and then at the anniversary show, you have them face the Learning Tree or the Conglomeration, and then you have a match at Title Tuesday where they face Private Party, they face Private Party again, and then Private Party wins the titles because Wheeler Yuta screws them over. Then you have Claudio versus Wheeler Yuta. You have like this kind of branching off things. Like I said, I think with Osprey and Mortos, Osprey needs to be preoccupied with Kyle Fletcher right now. And then Ricochet says something like, okay, he's going to take on Hologram at the anniversary show. At Title Tuesday, you're going to do something where Osprey, where you do something like at Title Tuesday, you can do something like Ricochet says, okay, I'm a contender. I'm in the number one contender for the international title, but I'm going to challenge somebody on the roster who's been picking up victories the past couple of weeks, or somebody that I think would be a great option for Ricochet, for Will Ospreay in the future. So you could probably do something like you have Takeshita versus Ricochet, have Takeshita win, have Takeshita lose, or have Takeshita lose to interference by Okada, and then you set up Okada versus Takeshita at Wrestle Dream, and then Ricochet versus Ospreay at Wrestle Dream, because you want that to be the big money show. So I think that that's also kind of the issue, is that they don't have long-term storytelling, or they don't do the TNA thing or the WWE thing or the WCW thing about having screw matches and then you go through all these shows. But also you have to learn, and AEW has to learn very, very clearly, you have to really stop having too many shows that are special within a time frame of a pay-per-view. If you have 3 or 4 shows like this, it's going to have a diminishing return, and then also you may waste big matches for a ratings pop. And then also you may have some people like in AEW, like who write the script, and they don't really just have the don't have like ideas to kind of tell a story and just how to unfuck a clusterfuck, which you seem to be doing. Like, because you have too many special shows, you have to make sure that they're all strong, really. And then you have to learn your lesson next year by not just doing that all the time, So there's a lot of things that they can do, and I really just hope that that Wrestle Dream is a show that delivers as a pay-per-view. You earn those 100,000 plus people who are buying the show. You earn people like me who travel the country going to these pay-per-views. So I really just hope that Wrestle Dream definitely delivers, and definitely this would have been a match that would have definitely earned them the over 100,000 people to that usually buy the AEW pay-per-view. And then the other issue is that if you do Osprey versus Ricochet Part 2 at Wrestle Dream, yes, people would be happy with that. People would eat that up. But the problem is it's diminishing return. You have Osprey versus MJF in Arkansas. What they did there was transcendent. But if you have that match again, but when they had that match a second time at All In, it had a diminishing return. It was kind of like a light version of their match, really. So that's why you have to be careful when you have these matches. You don't have Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels on like maybe a SmackDown or ECW show when the ratings are actually going down a little bit, and you want to pop a rating, and then you have it at WrestleMania as well, really. You do that once at a WrestleMania, and then if you want to do a rematch, you do it at the next WrestleMania, because you got to make sure it all like pops and everything like that, really. So it's kind of unfortunate that they blow off these great matches. And I know Simon Miller says, you just enjoy the show. No, you just have to do something like make sure everything pops and has a purpose. And AEW has not been good with that. I think that it's more, like I said, it's more like Rocky Horror Picture Show, as people say. You just you focus on popping and popping and popping and popping. And that's not good, because what happens is that if you do that way too much, you diminish everything, because everything feels like a pay-per-view, and then you spread yourself too thin, really. So it's not good that they're doing that, but learn not to have way too many, learn just to kind of be really careful about how many special shows that you do. You should just do AEW Dynamite. You should do AEW Grand Slam and the anniversary show, or you actually get rid of Grand Slam and the anniversary show and just make AEW Grand Slam is our anniversary show. Combine them into one, really. That would be the way to do it. So they need to work on consolidation with these special shows, and then also say that now we have one show. You're going to have Osprey and Fletcher versus the Young Bucks. That actually translates a lot better, and then you can save Ricochet versus Osprey for the Wrestle Dream show. So you have to work on consolidation. So that's all I gotta say, really. So, it's definitely unfortunate that they're not saying this for a pay-per-view when they can be making more money with that.